Well, we're about to start learning more about the individual tag attributes. And again, if you recall, the attributes are just those things about a tag that define how the tag behaves. Just to give you kind of a preview of what's coming up with tag management, let me take you into the PySMT utility, or the tag configurator, I should say. This tag configurator allows you to manage tags and their attributes from within a spreadsheet. So for example, I can import all of the attributes from my server, here for these tags. And as you can see, each tag represented by each row has columns and columns of attributes. And so this is the bulk tool for managing these tags. So just so you know, there's hope. If you are the one managing it, you don't have to do it one at a time. So let's start looking at the individual attributes. And we'll start by looking at the name of the tag. Now the name of the tag is basically a unique name that's usually following some kind of local naming convention. We see naming conventions that try to abbreviate things to make it easier for people to find and understand what they're looking at. To be honest, so sometimes the tag names themselves can be pretty obscure. For example, try to guess what this means. I'll give you a second. Pause this if you need to and write your answer down on the line there. Okay, so what we're looking at here, we're looking at motor number 3, enclosure number 1, panel number 2, and the name of that is a motor drive 1202, and the value we're looking at is the run status. So, taking this all together, what we're looking at here is a very obscure local naming convention for showing us exactly what it is we're looking at, the run status of a motor that's located in enclosure 1, panel 2. Now, that's typical of the name, or what we call the tag. Now, in addition, there is a descriptor. Now, the descriptor is going to be something that's usually a lot more user-friendly, more human readable as opposed to the machine readable one we just saw. And it's used a lot in search criteria, so you can go through and search for tags by their descriptor. This is kind of what we would call the full name, and this would be more like the jargon that either the instrument technicians use for their naming convention, or just the shortcut that everybody in the plant uses. The descriptor is typically the full name. I should point out also, sometimes we see the tag name equivalent to the name as it appears on the data source, and the descriptor appears in a more machine or human friendly format. Now next is engineering units. Engineering units is an open field, so you will notice that you can put in gallons/minute or gallons per minute or gal/m, GPM. It's actually something that is completely open. It's your choice. Now that can lead to a lot of, inconsistency from one person who creates tags to another. Now we do have, for purposes of calculations in AF, we do have engineering units conversions where the engineering units you specify actually do mean something. But in the case of the regular PyPoint database, the engineering units is simply an open field that you can use. Now next we see the point type. A point type is that the type of tag that we're actually storing. And we'd gone over all the different point types earlier: string, int32, real, float32, etc. The point type is something that's very useful when it comes to searching for things. So most of the fields you're seeing here are things you can search for in our tag search. Point type ends up being useful for that. And when it comes to 0 and span, all you really have to remember is that the span is added to the 0 to get the overall range. So for example, if your 0 is 0 and your span is 100, then you've effectively got a range of 0 to 100. Compare that to a case where your 0 is 50, your span is also 100, then this is your range, 50 to 150. Now the last of the fields we'll look at right now that are common is the point source field. The point source is used to indicate what the source of the data is. Typically it's a character string of one or more characters that simply identifies the source, as in H for Honeywell control system, B for Allen Bradley programmable logic controller, etc. So you'll find this used in tag searches where if you know what the source of your data is, the point source will help you find specific points. Now all of these common Pi attributes are useful, as I mentioned earlier, in the tag search. So for example, I've switched over now. Within my tag search, I can search for things using specific point sources. So for example, I just want to see those whose point sources are and whose tag mask begins with the letter CD, and it shows me just that subset. So compare that to, for example, if I look for all tags that use that point source of R. Now what I'm finding is all tags that use the random interface. Now I can switch this to a different point source, for example, point source of 9, which stands for the ramp soak interface, and I'll find just those tags that are associated with that interface. So each of these, the point types, the descriptor, these are all searchable within the tag search.